Hey there guys, how are you? So it's still January, the dead zone for movies, and there was nothing that came out this week I wanted to go see or talk about, and that's the reason we're talking about Bad Boys 3 for life. And by the way, I'm shooting this video with a brand new camera that uses 4K, so if I look uglier, that's the reason why. It's been 17 years since we've gotten a Bad Boys movie, and Martin Lawrence and Will Smith are back together again for one last ride. Now first of all, this is a January movie, and usually expectations are pretty low, but this movie's making a shit ton of cash. And I think the logical explanation behind that is, if you release a movie that has name recognition in the dead zone of January, where movies go to die, and your only competition is Doolittle, well, which movie are you going to go see? Or maybe people were just craving a brand new buddy cop action movie. I know I was. In this movie, Martin Lawrence's character is sort of having a Danny Glover from Lethal Weapon storyline. He's getting too old for this shit and wants to retire. And Will Smith's character is going through a midlife crisis and wants to keep being a badass cop, even though he's getting older. And this is by far one of the best Will Smith movies I've seen in a very long time. And by the way, I was sent this movie to talk about, and now I'm going to. It's not very good. And very quickly, before we dive deeper into Bad Boys 3, and I talk about the previous movies directed by Michael Bay, and boy do I have a lot of things to say about those movies, I quickly want to mention the sponsor of this video, well, because I'm poor. This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Alright, I'd like to introduce you guys to a game I've featured on YouTube videos for over the past year. I've been playing off and on, especially when I go on long trips, because I don't know what else to do with my life. It's Raid Shadow Legends. If you didn't hear about it, Raid is an amazing dark fantasy RPG that everyone is talking about, and if you still don't play it, now's the time to start. Because now, it's finally available on PC and Mac. Raid on PC has the same great core gameplay as Android and iOS versions, but the new PC version has a ton of extra graphics and goodies. There's a lot of cool animations and control customizations for ease of play. It's a cross-platform game, so when you install Raid, the game, on your PC or Mac, you can continue playing the game on your mobile devices. Basically, you can enjoy playing Raid anywhere. The download and registration only took a few minutes. It's super easy, and the best thing is you don't need a super badass gaming computer. The graphics look amazing, and I have a really bad computer, so yeah, you don't need 5,000 billion processors. Whatever makes a computer fast these days, I don't know. And did I mention there's over 400 champions to collect and customize? And this right here is my favorite champion because he's a big, green, mean fight machine, and I just enjoy that muscle definition. And when I play games like this, I like the biggest badass on the game, and this is him. It's an awesome game, and if you want to join me, just look for my nickname, the Flick Pick, and shoot me an invite and join my clan. And the best part is, the game is completely free to download and play, so why not? The community is super active, and there's already 15 million people playing the game worldwide. People are talking about it on YouTube and the Reddit forums, so there's a lot of help if you want to get started. You can start playing right now by hitting the link in the description. Make sure you do it there so you get 50,000 free silver and a free epic champion as part of the new player program. So click the link down below and join me so we can battle side by side, and once again, the best thing is this game is free, so check it out down below. So Bad Boys 3, I think the reason that we finally got this movie 17 years later after the previous sequel was due to the success of Fast and Furious. If you noticed, around Fast and Furious 5, they sort of rebooted the franchise, it went a different direction, and now we have 57 Fast and Furious movies where they're no longer just street racers, they're superhero spies who can save the planet. And I feel like that's the direction they're going with the new Bad Boys movies. And by no means is this new Bad Boys movie as over the top as Fast and Furious 5 through 87, whatever movie they're on now. It's definitely much more mild than that, but they're opening up this universe to go different directions with future installments. Because why create new shit when you can take old shit and repackage it and make people pay for it again? Now, the first Bad Boys film was directed by Michael Bay in 1995. It was Michael Bay's first movie, and it was an enjoyable action movie. I still watch it every few years. And I like it. I never loved it. I much prefer Michael Bay's movie The Rock. I think that's a superior action movie in every possible way. And plus it has Nicolas Cage in it. Yes, please. And then in the early 2000s, we got Bad Boys 2, which I think is one of the worst Michael Bay movies ever made. It's a movie that's way too long. It's 2.5 hours. And there was a point in that movie where they hijack Dan Marino's car and they steal it and go on this chase sequence where I was in the movie theater thinking, okay, how much longer does this movie have? And it had like another hour left, and I was like, how? Why? And with all that said, I sort of enjoyed Bad Boys 3. It was a really easy, fun, enjoyable movie to watch with levity and action sequences, and the best thing about this movie is, it wasn't directed by Michael Bay. And because of that, this movie's not as straining on your eyeballs or your mental health as the two previous Bad Boy installments were. Because Michael Bay movies, the way that he films action, it's very choppy and bombastic, and unsettling and jarring, and the way that he color grades his films, the saturation's at 60,000%, the contrast is at 90,000%. For example, if Michael Bay was directing this video, this is what it would look like. Ugh. Now let's talk about Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. This is a buddy cop movie, and that's one of my favorite genres of films because I like the chemistry between two characters in these crazy situations, just kicking ass, taking names, and there's a lot of comedy throughout this film. And I will say the chemistry between these two is one of the best things about the Bad Boys franchise. It's what makes these movies enjoyable to watch. Because as far as the storylines go, yeah. And Martin Lawrence, man, I forgot how funny he was. He's basically the comedic backbone of this entire movie. Every great scene that I laughed at, it was because Martin Lawrence had a joke or his comedic timing was perfect. And I hope to see him in more movies, and I think he will be because they just greenlit Bad Boys 4, so look out for that. Now let's talk about the villains of this film, and that's where things get a little bit bizarre because the one main villain is this lady who practices witchcraft, which is just a bizarre tacked on subplot of the film to make it weird for the sake of being weird that felt so unnecessary. And in this film, she has a son who's also a hitman who's going around killing people throughout the film, and that's who the bad boys are chasing down throughout the entire movie. And as far as his character goes, he's sort of bland and a little bit boring, but he's sufficient to the story of this movie. There's one really cool scene where he takes out a whole bunch of people with a knife in a warehouse, and I was like, yeah, give me more of that. And much like the previous Bad Boys films, the villains in these movies never stand out. They're not all that charismatic or memorable, and you don't really care about them, which I've always thought was sort of the weak point of these movies, and once again, they follow that same trend. But the big difference this time around is the amount of time that they dedicate to the backstory of these villains and just how much they play into the plot by the third act. But some of the things they do in this movie to set those things up just feels really convoluted and you're not really invested in it. I felt like they could have went a different direction to make it more intriguing or maybe cast different actors to play these roles. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see Bad Boys 4, but I thought the third act of this movie was by far the weakest part of the movie. Now, here are my final flicking thoughts on Bad Boys for Life. Like I said, my biggest negative with this movie revolves around the villains of this film, and it feels like the entire third act of this movie is just dedicated to setting up a future installment to more Bad Boys movies. And also, there's a point in this film, it's about an hour and a half into the movie, after this big chase sequence, where I thought the movie was over. I thought it was a logical ending to the film, where I was like, okay, if it ended right here, that would have been a really solid action movie. But it didn't end. It just kept going into a third act where you unravel that big backstory and subplot with the villains, and it's just like, ugh. So with all that said, it was just nice to see Will Smith and Martin Lawrence team up once again for another buddy cop action adventure with levity throughout and some really well done action sequences. And this it's easy to watch, it's enjoyable, and it does exactly what it should. So with all that said, I'm going to give this movie, why did I grunt? I don't know, but I would watch this movie again on a rainy day, and it's enjoyable, and I think it might be my favorite of the three Bad Boys movies. And now here's my question for you, and let me know down below, if you've seen this movie, what did you think about it, or what is your favorite buddy cop movie of all time? As always guys, thanks for watching, make sure you subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and turn on notifications, that way I can see you next time. Isn't that a lot of shit? As always guys, I'll see you next time, bye.